Hello everyone, and extra welcome if you're watching this in catch up. So I'm Marissa, and this is the book launch party for my brand new book called Burrowed. So I hope you're not seeing it in reverse as I am. So Burrowed has been taking me an age, so I'm so happy to be here celebrating with you. So again, if you're watching this in catch up, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're here live, give a wave, say hello. I will try and do my best. I have got my contact lenses in, so I should be able to see any comments that appear. So welcome to our party. Hello, Wendy, and thank you so much. And you know, Wendy is one of those people, she just encourages people. So any book that comes out for me is because there's people encouraging me. They probably regret that now. But you know, there's people behind you. You write by yourself, but you don't really write by yourself. So I'm a member of a wonderful bunch of people called the Association of Christian Writers, and they really encourage other people. Hello, Brendan. So good to see you here. One day we will have a much bigger real life party, but at the moment it's just me at home. I've bribed the kids with donuts and telly, so they're happy. They're very happy. They're not missing out. At least I hope they are not. And I'm hogging the cake and the bubbly in here. So there we are. So welcome to the party for Burrowed. And like I was saying, it's something you do with friends. You know, writing is, you type away by yourself, and I need to write it in peace, which tends to be in the evening. But there's people around you, people that encourage you, people that pray for you, people that help you, people that tell you, you know, parts of it are boring. Like my editor did, my poor editor. I did warn her it was going to be boring. Because Burrowed is really my first book that has taken like massive edits. You know, normally it's like the odd paragraph or the odd line where my editor says, "Not sure I understand this." And I look at it, I was like, I don't understand it either, so we take it out. And you know, sometimes you write too late at night, and it makes perfect sense at midnight, and in daylight, you know, I have no idea what I was trying to say. But this book was even worse. I wrote it, and it took a long time to write, which also doesn't help, because then you go, what was the lady's hair colour? You know, that's like kind of thing. Oh, Wendy, absolutely, editors are the best. Oh, it's upside down. I'm sorry, Brendan. Is that better? I don't think it's upside down. No. It might be back to front, but that's I blame that on the camera. Yeah. So this one, I wrote it, and there was quite a lot of setting the scene, and I didn't know what to do. So I just left it and gave it to my editor and said, the first bit is really boring. Please help. And she did. So we changed the first bit, we rewrote, we fixed it. And I like it now. I like it. But you need an editor who says, you know what, sort it out. And we did. Have I frozen? Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how well my internet is. So according to Wendy's says I'm frozen on her computer, but she can still hear me. Not sure if that's good. Probably not. Hopefully I will revive. Oh, hello, Sophia. So good to see you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your wonderful blog about Burrowed. So Burrowed really came about, I was thinking, you know, about, you know, people who pass away, and I've had a lot of uncles of mine who died. And as a teenager, I always felt it was like the wrong people. You know, when you have like a dreadful neighbor or even a relative that you're like, oh, I hope he's not coming. And they live forever. You know, they make it to like 101 or whatnot. And it's the really nice ones that God seemed to take. And, you know, as a teenager, you feel life's very unfair. Which apparently, you know, like Asaph, who wrote Psalm 73, he thoroughly agreed life is very unfair. You know, he said the rich, and the evil ones, they live forever, they have all the good stuff, and they die a very happy, peaceful death. And he was like, life really isn't fair. which it is. You know, it isn't fair. And so I wrote Burrowed, where I thought it would be quite fun to be a teenager for a while. Not too long, but every now and again it's nice, isn't it? So I thought I'll do it from a teenager, because I've never written anything in the first person, and I getting used. I've recently read quite a lot of books in the first person, and it always takes me a little bit of getting used to. Maybe because I don't always identify with the person who wrote the book, you know, who's speaking in the book. So they're like, no, I wouldn't think that. But anyway, to write in, it was really great fun. And I don't normally write in the past tense. So Paul Burrowed started really as a little writing exercise, but I thought I'll do a little story in the past tense from first person sort of perspective and just have some fun. And I thought I'll do it a little bit about grief. And then I was playing around with pictures. Now, I do blame Wendy for this. Anyone who knows Wendy will probably agree with me. But she introduced us to this amazing program called BookBrush. And you can make book covers, pictures, all kinds of things. It's a bit like Canva, but more about books. And it's a wonderful time to spend a rainy afternoon with, you know. So I did. I spent a rainy afternoon looking at pictures on like Pixabay. And this picture of Burrowed, it is actually like a longer picture, because I tend to do like a wraparound picture. It really talked to me, because I was like, you know, we can have, especially when we are grieving, when we are going through really hard things, it feels very flat and grey. But then God gives us little blessings, like little points of light and colour to do this. Yes, see, Wendy says BookBrush rocks. It does. It also eats your time because it's so amazing. So there we are. So I found this picture and I thought that's just the picture that I had in mind, you know, with a lot of grey, but bright colours. And being Dutch, I mean, I have to have a book with tulips, don't I? You know, I mean, tulips are amazing. And the thing is, I don't quite know why. I'm pretty sure someone explained it to me. I'm not sure. Someone explained to me, like in Holland, our tulips don't hang in the vase. Whereas once I moved to England, people would have tulips on their table and they would like hang down. I was like, what have you done to your poor Dutch flowers? But yeah, so in Holland, they're straight, you know, they're tall as well, tall flowers like the Dutch. I don't know, we don't feed them milk, so I'm not sure why they're tall. But anyway, so there we are. So I used this picture and I had it as a graphic in my mind whilst writing, you know, where you have the greyness and the oppression of grief, and it really pushes your soul down, doesn't it? And you just can't move. But then there's coloured flowers like pinpricks, like little blessings. So there we are. So thank you, Sophia. So Sophia is saying the title for Burrowed is intriguing, because I'm dreadful for spoilers. I'm always in trouble with people who say, don't spoil the book. So I'll try not to. But there is danger underground. I think I can say that. So I wanted something to do with that, you know, there's quite often in life, there can be like hidden dangers, can't it? Like burrowing into your life or burrowing underground. So there we are. So that's where the title came from. And there's the cover. So I'm going to have some of my drink. I hope you have a drink. I hope you have a nice drink. I have my favourite drink, Lambrini. And I have a big bottle which I will be sharing with some real life friends later. I have some wonderful friends over and they are so supportive of my books. Again, they're like my biggest fans. You know, they read all my books and they're wonderful. And one of them is from Jersey, one set of friends, and they're staying in our cottage, which is really nice. And the other friend is from up north and he's staying nearby. So we've been going out with the kids and yeah, spend time together, which is really, really nice. So they're actually making dinner for all of us. So there's 9 kids in total, and quite a few of us adults. And they're cooking for me. So it's a big bottle, yeah. It will take me a while. I will have 1 glass. I won't be driving, obviously. Richard will drive. But I love this stuff. And then the rest, well, I will take to the cottage to have overmeal. So, proost, as they say in Dutch. Thank you everyone for coming and looking at my book, reading the book. So here we go. Oh, I know, Sophia, thank you. It's wonderful to have fans. I find it really, really humbling. For those of you who know our church and who know us, one of our church, he came to our church quite a few times. An amazing man, full of life and yeah, incredible. And he was like my biggest fan, and he was like handing my books on, no, not handing them, selling them on, and encouraging all his friends to buy signed copies. So he was amazing. And then he died. And again, I was in the middle of writing this, and I was like, oh, I didn't need an example, Lord. I've had plenty of examples of the wrong people dying on me. But he died. He was a wonderful Christian man. So, but it was still very hard. So I actually put him in the book. Near the end, he's one of the men that goes out. I just had to put him in. He was a larger-than-life character. And, it's just a really nice thing to be able to do. So anyone who knew our church and who used to come to our church, he's in the book. And I just love reading the little bits about it. When I was going through the edits and things, and you end up reading your book way too many times. You're like, why did I ever write this? But the bit about him just warmed my heart because he was such a dear friend and such a good encouragement. I was like, I've just lost my biggest fan. But yeah, so he is there. Oh, this is nice. I do hope you all have something. So what I would like to do, I'd like to read a little bit. I was going to read the prologue, whichever it is. Again, we struggled with how to get into the book, and we thought this would be a cool way to do it. So I enjoy doing it. A coffee here. Oh, that's good. I was tempted by coffee. I actually looked for coffee cake. They didn't have any. I mean, they can't get the staff nowadays. I mean, no coffee cake. And I didn't have time to make it because we were out gallivanting around Gloucester today. So there we were. Anyway, here we go. Here's the prologue. A good mystery was what she needed, and someone to admire her detecting skills. Josiah walked down the path from the ferry office to the harbour wall, her short brown hair glinting blonde in the sunshine. She stared out across the long channel leading to open water. So many exciting changes coming to Ximiu, but she would have to experience them without her best friend. Her dream of becoming a detective seemed to have left with Xandra. After all, every self-respecting detective needs a sidekick. The sun was too bright for Josiah to see the open sea, but her mind had no problem following the route to the mainland. She could just make out the small dark shape of the ferry taking her letter to Xandra. She leaned over the dark brown blocks making up the harbour wall. Josiah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the slightly salty breeze on her tanned face, rough stone under her fingers, and sighed. She let her eyes wander along the rugged coastline, the hills a green speckled yellow after the hot weeks of summer. Dry, just like her soul at the moment, she thought. The poetic thought reminded her of Elori. His mother was the vice Xibai, and as the Xibai's daughter, Josiah ended up spending a lot of time with Elori. If only there was something to work on and practice her detecting abilities. Josiah looked at the sun. It was time. She'd better go home. She drew herself up, hoping a heroic stance would give her energy to face the changes coming to her island. Josiah spun round, her trainer foot pushing off from the low harbour wall, turning her back to the water. She was in too much of a hurry to notice movement in the shadowy cliff face. Even as she walked, frowning, back to the city, the pale figure watching the ferry launch was too well hidden to catch her eye. So we did the prologue in the third person, and then it starts. So it starts off with a letter to her best friend Xandra, who left for the mainland. So I'm sure I can tell you this. A lot of the people have left the island of Ximiu and have gone to live on the mainland. A lot of the men have gone because there's been what they call the Great Change, where the society turned matriarchal. So some of the families have left as a whole family, and some of the families, the husband left. So Cassandra is one of the young people whose family left for the mainland. But there was another problem with Cassandra. There's a missing sister. So that comes out in the book. And I'm actually thinking of, halfway through writing the book, I was like, oh, maybe there will be a sequel. It was just going to be a one-off. It wasn't even going to be a book. It was just going to be a story. It then grew. And I was like, this is going to be a really long short story. You know, I mean, I know my idea of a short story is about, 5,000 words. But I was like, this is growing longer than a short story. So it grew into a book, which is great. It really was great. But halfway through, I was like, I really wondered what happened to Cassandra's sister. And then there's the female minister, the lady minister. And it turns out that her husband has gone. But where has he gone? Because there's been no contact. So has he really gone to the mainland, as people assumed? He's gone with all the other men. But surely there would have been some contact with his best friends. So maybe, it all became a bit sort of midsummer murdery with sort of, don't walk your dog in the dark parts of the woods sort of thing. So there could well be a sequel to Burrowed, where, Josiah loved being a detective. She had a wonderful time. But it's not always as easy as she thought. So she was a bit shocked as well. Being a detective comes with other issues. There could be a sequel where, we have more missing girls or missing husbands. So that was that one. So we did the prequel in third person, but still in the past. So that was good. So I'm going to have some cake. And I thought to sort of stay in the colour scheme, I chose red velvet cake, which also happens to be my favourite cake. So it wasn't much of a sacrifice to get a cake in the right colour scheme. So I hope you have something to eat. See, that's the problem with online parties, isn't it? I'm so sorry, people. I would love to share my Lambrini with you, and even this extremely minuscule red velvet cake. Why did they make them so small, I wonder? So anyway, so here's my cake, my red velvet cake, which is definitely one of my favourite cakes after coffee cake. But like I said, no coffee cake to be had. So this has to then go down. I love the colour scheme too, Justin. Yeah, I like matching cakes. It makes it, less guilt. I don't feel guilty about eating cake, but it's definitely a good excuse. It's part of the whole colour coding thing, so it's a must, isn't it? So let me try this for you. Yeah. There's definitely a trip to Eastham worth it, guys. If only you'd known I had red velvet cake in Lambrini. Some of you would maybe have made it. Who knows? So yeah. So Josiah wants to be a detective. She has this friend, Elori, and he's sort of a friend because there isn't really anyone else that she gets on with. So she's sort of stuck with him, sadly. But they got on okay-ish, I think. So she makes new friends, slightly odd friends. There's something different about them. So she finds out more and more as time goes on. And the girl is called Aziza, and her brother is called Kamau. And Josiah really likes Kamau. And he's nice, he chats and he's friendly. Elori is into poetry, like really into poetry. It's not amazing poetry, but he loves it. And it puts Josiah off a little bit. But Kamau isn't like that. He's not into poetry. He gets her jokes, they get on well. But here she finds herself. It's a bit near the end of the book. I'm pretty sure there aren't any. I'll try to avoid the spoilers. And she says, "We rode on and on. The tunnel felt never-ending. My shoulders burned, and I wasn't sure how much longer I would be able to push the handlebar. It shouldn't be that much longer," Aziza suddenly said in the darkness, her voice barely audible over the rumbling wheels. "And then there will be a still door. After that it will be dark, as it's the last part of the emergency exit." I nodded, feeling a bit guilty that I had wanted her to come along. She looked exhausted. I knew Kamau had worried about her, and unsure whether she would be able to make it. As he still hadn't caught up, I knew he trusted me to look after Aziza. "Maybe we'll have another quick rest once we're through the door," I hissed back, and Aziza nodded. "It might be better to rest this side of the door, just where the track ends," she explained softly, "as it will be very dark once we're through the door, and it will be messier as well, and there might be creepy crawlies." She shuddered, and I gasped. That was the last thing we needed. "We'd better walk fast once we're through," I managed to grin, and she giggled briefly, exhausted. I didn't want to check my watch, for it would make the journey feel longer than it was. I did wonder about Kamau, though. How much longer before he caught up with us? Now and then I looked at the young girls and Ilori. Everyone looked grave and pale. I blinked fresh tears away. Everything ached and burned, my throat hurt. And then I saw the steel door. I was thrilled to see the door just ahead of us, even though there was more to come at the other side, but somehow it felt like a milestone. A 10-mile one in this case, or maybe even more. I had lost all sense of time and distance. Not that I had a good sense of distance to start with, but this night seemed to have lasted a week. "We'll have another quick rest," I smiled at the others, and the little girls promptly dropped down on the trolley floor. I went to hug them. "You've both been so brave and strong," I said, my voice sounding all quivery. "Later, when we're all safe and sound, you'll have to tell me more, but for now we have to focus on getting out." They nodded, and I stroked their little backs and patted their knees. Ilori looked exhausted, rubbing his shoulders. "You'd better tell us another poem," I said, trying to grin to make it sound like a fun suggestion. I could tell from his face that he was going to cry or complain about this impossible journey, but a poem should distract him. Ilori smiled at the girls and launched into another poem, his voice shaking only a little. It was about a glowworm who had mislaid his light and travelled through a dark tunnel looking for it. There were no glowworms on Ximu, as far as I knew, but the poem was funny anyway. "The worm crawled on and on, he had no idea which way. He took another step, his boots filling with dismay, as he wondered for the 7th time where the light had gone. In the distance he saw a twinkle, the glowworm picked up his feet, but cried out when he and the light did meet, for it was a reflection on a foil crinkle. He sank down in despair, and staggered up again. My traipsing is not in vain, for it's a reflection of light, maybe my spare." I rolled my eyes, but had to laugh, especially when one of the girls giggled and asked, "Do glowworms have spare lights?" Ilori laughed as well. I sipped some more of my water, shivered, and tried to move my legs. They were getting stiff already. I groaned as I dragged myself off the floor. The girls looked at me. "Do we need to go?" Their faces looked desperate, and I swallowed. So there we go. Ilori is Nigerian, and maybe in other countries as well. Ooh. Thank you, Brendan, as well, and thank you, Sophia. I didn't realise it was a Nigerian name. I tend to use Latin words and then twist them until they sound like names. I would have to go on my notes. I should have looked, shouldn't I? I forgot, because like I said, this one, it's taken me a year to write, which for me is very long. I normally write my book in a month and then finish it off a couple of weeks later, and then we edit it. And this one has taken months, and I forgot all kinds of things. I had to keep looking back, like who's got what colour hair, colour eyes. I forgot so much. So there we are. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I based it on Latin names or Latin. Yeah, I think so. It's usually a Latin word or a Latin name. So I would have to look it up. But I like it because it's part of the fun. So there's a lot of changes on Ximu, because not only did they become a matriarchal society, they also decided to go green. And I quite enjoy that. In a month to write a book, yeah, I like doing it because I do it by chapter. So, and a lot of my books have like 40 something chapters. So it takes me about 50 nights because I don't do it every night. There's other nights when I'm doing other stuff or I'm just too tired to think. So Ximu decides to go green, but they're going green really fast, a bit too fast. So they have some trouble with the demand and supply chains and things like that. But they also do some fun things, like they get all the school kids, I think it was the secondary school kids. They get all the school kids a bag of mixed seeds, like salady type seeds or herbs, but there were a few perennials because I found out you can get almost like a wild broccoli that you just spread, and it's like an annual one. It keeps coming back and it doesn't need any care. So I thought of, looked at some herbs and plants that you could like almost grow wild, and you pick them after a while. So the kids then go foraging and picking up herbs and things. Now Jasara is she's not a very picky eater, but quite a picky eater. Broccoli she really doesn't like at all. She doesn't do broccoli. So when she sees on her bag that it has some wild broccoli, she's like, oh, do we have to pick this? And there's only really so much lettuce you can eat. But if you mix it in with herbs, it's quite nice. So they had all these things. So they went off into the things and spread seeds, which is nice because it was nice weather. And then after a while, they came back and picked some of the stuff. So what I did, I like sending out books with extras. So I just bought a couple of herbs like fennel and I think I did basil. Not basil. The long ones, chives and borage. I have no idea what it tastes like. I'm not, like I said, I'm not really a green person. And I just got a couple of mixed seeds and mixed them in a thing, and then with my signed copies, as long as it's not abroad, because then it's funny with sending out seeds. And I looked at it and I was like, So I made like little tiny envelopes with some of your mixed seeds. So if you get one of those, be careful when you open them because some of the seeds are very, very small. I think the chamomile, I don't like chamomile, but yeah, it's good for you. So some of the seeds are really, really small. So if you get one of those envelopes, don't open them in a rush because you'll be growing chamomile on your carpet, but it's fun. So, and you can just throw it in your border or you can do it in a pot in the windowsill because they assured me that they were very easy herbs and plants to grow, and they will be nice in like salads and whatnot. So that was just like a little extra, and I actually quite like the idea of just because it's an island and they had to suddenly grow a lot of food, so they just did like little things like that, and they have a thing like Sky Farm, where they grow more consistent stuff in a way. So there's people who because they get rid of most of the cars, almost all the cars, some voluntary getting rid of, and some not so voluntary. So suddenly, car mechanics, what do you do instead? So I've sort of got them moving to the Sky Farm or helping out at the Sky Farm where they help to grow things. So lots of yurts are set up because they're not that hard to build and they're comfortable and they can be very warm, and it was fun. So I thought that would be a fun detail. So a lot of the island people moved to the Sky Farm to help grow food and make the island more self-sufficient, really. So they're living in yurts, and then the kids have to go and help there. And they help out with some of the electricity things. But so it involved a lot of research, but it was really interesting. And then we had a really interesting point. I think I mentioned it in one of my blogs. Because I grew up in the Netherlands, our roads are nice and smooth and covered in asphalt, which I always translated as tarmac. Turns out they're different things, which I didn't know, but my editor knew because she didn't grow up in the Netherlands where we like to recycle our road surface. We don't have the massive pothole problem either. We could have, but you just remelt the asphalt, you break it up, scrape it off, and then you remelt it, and then you melt it, and then you relay your nice smooth asphalt. So if you have a really bad road, it's done in half a day. That's just So I thought so I had them do that, but I called it tarmac, where they took the tarmac out because they were going to reuse it. And my editor said, but you can't reuse tarmac. And I was like, I think, can't you? So we Googled it, and it turned out asphalt you can reuse, tarmac you can't reuse. Once you scrape it off, that's it, you're done. So we had to change all the tarmac words to asphalt. So if you see the word asphalt and you go, why on earth has she picked that word? That's why, because I needed it to be reused. But yeah, it's amazing where research can take you. So that was really good fun. Um, and yeah, there's a little bit of, should I say this? There's trouble for, I don't know. I'm dreadful with spoilers. I mean, what is a spoiler and what isn't? You know, some people are happy to know the entire book as long as it's not the last page. Some people even look at the last page. So, you know, like, I wouldn't do that. That would be awful. Um, so there's some human trafficking issues in there. So that was interesting. Um, and and like I said, because the sequel sort of started coming to mind, that might have a lot more to do with human trafficking. Um, but yeah, that was just an interesting side road in there. And yeah, I know it's quite hard because I wanted you know to be green, and we tried to sort of make it positive. But then for me, I'm not an outdoorsy person. So if you suddenly had to grow all your own food and just be outside on the Sky Farm as kids, and I'd be like, can't I just go and hide and read a book? Just like Josiah I want to do, because she loves reading and she just wants to do her detecting thing and read her detective novels. And instead she's like foraging herbs and whatnot. And she's like, can't I just read? And then there's like broccoli. I don't like broccoli. So some of the food that it would have to find, I'd be like, can't I just have my nice comfort food? So for me, for the island to go green really fast and all hands on deck and that kind of thing, I would find that really hard. I'd be like, oh, you know, and electricity became a bit of an issue. Whereas my editor, who's amazing, you know, they have sheep and she does things with the wool and she grows stuff and she actually likes doing that kind of thing. She thought that was really positive, and I was like, it's a bit meant as a negative. All the kids sort of having to throw out seeds and then going picking them up again in a few weeks. And she's like, but it would be really nice. It would be really good fun. I was like, would it? Maybe it would. I don't know. For some people, I'm sure it would be great fun. So that depended a bit. So we did try and make it a positive experience to go in green. Whereas I like part of the idea of going green, obviously, because I think, you know, as Christians, we have to be good stewards of what we've been given and what God has made. You know, we have to look after it. So I agree with that. And, you know, going out. And it went, I hope I'm still here. Anyway, it looks like I'm back. So yeah, so it's different sides to that kind of experience, isn't it? So I might even do a poll at some stage. It's like, who would love going green and growing all your own stuff? And, you know, Josiah's dad was keeping a pig for sausages. So, you know, who would enjoy that? I probably would if I had to. Part of me would enjoy it. But then if it's rainy outside and you're like, we'll have to go and pick some lettuce or we have to find some potatoes. So yeah, so there we are. Oh, thank you, Wendy. I'm back, but I'm breaking up. So sorry about that, people. Anyway, I won't keep you much longer anyway, because, you know, there's only so much burrowing we can do through a book. So yeah, so that's the book. I do have copies. So if you want to buy one through my website, then that's a good place. And you get your little pouch with seeds, so you can grow your own stuff. It's not going to feed you for the whole of the summer. I can promise you that, because there's only a few in there, but it will be a good start. And obviously I will sign the book. And those of you who get my newsletter, I hope you have the discount code. Do fill that in. Do use that. And also keep an eye out in the newsletter to see if there will be a sequel to Burrowed, which I think there will be, because there's a missing husband, missing sisters, missing people. And I want to know how well the green experiment is going, you know, because they were doing okay once some of the problems had been sorted. But then there was also, there were questions, you know, how bad was the outcome at the end? So maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. So maybe the book shouldn't have been about grief. Maybe it should be. I'm not sure. But there will definitely be a sequel at some stage, because I'm in book 3 of the Elabi Chronicles. So I'm back on Elabi. I had to put it on hold because it's third person present tense, and this one was first person past tense. I couldn't cope. I was like, my head was just like, I can't think straight. So yeah, sorry, Sophia. As soon as I put it in, I was like, I'm not sure if people actually know whether the seeds are for, I mean, I'm sure you could put them in salad. I don't think they would kill you, but they are really for spreading. You can spread them in a bit of garden or even in a windowsill pot. I was assured that they would grow very well, very easily. Just stick them in a pot with a bit of sand and, compost stuff and water them. I kill all my plants, so don't ask me. My plants just have dreadful life expectancies. But these might be okay, mightn't they? I mean, they're like herby things. They're probably really hardy. I mean, they can deal with British summers and weather and whatnot. So they're probably quite hard to kill off as well. I'm pretty sure they would be. So I hope you will enjoy that. But yeah, so I'm now back in El Arbi because Burrowed is here now. But I'm definitely thinking about, wonder what happened to the pastor's husband, and I wonder what happened to the sister. And there's a few other things. I can't tell you what I'm wondering about because that would be a spoiler. Dreadful. So yeah, so thank you so much for coming along. And thank you, David. Thanks for coming. Do let me know if you want more copies and I will send them out to you. And obviously, wherever you are in the world, whether it's Singapore or South America, you can go to your bookshop and order one, and they can order it anywhere in the world. And obviously, it's also available as Kindle, ebook. And this time, I've only done the ebook on Amazon, so it's actually on the Kindle Unlimited thing, so you can read it for free. But please leave a review. I've uploaded this to Goodreads today. I love having reviews. Maybe if it's a 1-star, forget it. Just email me. But yeah, if not, then that's fine. Yeah, so I had a lot of fun with it. So I hope you enjoy reading it. I hope if you have read it, I hope you enjoyed it and it wasn't too hard. And enjoy the seeds and enjoy your Lambrini or Prosecco or anything you have. So thank you so much for coming, and I will see you at some stage. And I love to hear from you. So you think, oh, you're in Kindle, okay, so you get page read. Oh, thank you, Wendy. That's true, you get page read. Oh, it's also complex. You know what, you think, wouldn't it be fun to write a book, tell a story on paper? How wonderful, so relaxing and so calming in the evening. And then you end up having to make a cover and a blurb, which is the worst. I get my editor to write my blurbs. I can't cope. I was like, please, I need a blurb. So she writes it. And then you need marketing, and then there's uploading, and you learn a whole new language, manuscript, POV. Yeah. So there we go. It's a whole new world. If you think writing is relaxing, it is, but it's the rest. You can pay someone for the rest, but I'm too Dutch for that. And I like it. It's just tricky. But yeah, we uploaded it, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, and it's all over the world. But if you want a signed copy with seeds and a special letter from Josiah, do it through my website. And obviously you can order more copies for it. It's not a problem. You just tell me who you want it signed to. So, thank you so much, Sophia. Thank you. And yeah, thank you for being a blessing, and thank you everyone for coming. So I'm going to finish off eating my cake and downing this, and then I'm off to have curry with my friends and all the kids. So thank you for coming. And again, if you saw this later, drop a comment in the end. So thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and I will speak to you soon.